Brie Groves with Shake and Bacon.
Hey.
Hey. Oh man. Okay. So I'm just so happy to have you here. We've been in each other's worlds for, I guess, a couple years now, would you say?
Yeah, it has been.
Loving each other kind of from afar type situation, which is nice. But just a little background on you for the people. A lot of people who at least follow me on Instagram already follow you. But I know I have listeners who don't necessarily keep up with all the things on the gram. So a little bit about you. You are an entrepreneur. You're an educator. You are a game changer in your space. You are a soon to be 7-figure business owner. You are a mama of 3. Wifey. What am I missing?
All the things. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones. Yeah. And you're just doing the damn thing. I mean, you have really, you've always been somebody to take massive action, which is one of the things that I really admire about you. There are a lot of people who talk the talk. You're somebody who you don't even really talk the talk. You just do the damn thing and take action, which I really admire because I'm kind of a shit talker myself. But I love when somebody like quietly just like runs shit and you're doing it. So I really admire that about you. But before we dive into, the deeper things that we're going to be talking about, because we're going to be talking about so many good things today. We're going to be talking about like embodying that next level mindset and taking fast action and how you've created what you've created. And, we're going to be going there. But before we go there, give us a rundown of how you got started, how you got from where you are now, or how you got to where you are now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm always like, okay, what's the like short version of this? Cause it's long, right?
Give us a long version.
The long version. Yeah. So, like I've always been the type of person that's wanted to do her own thing, like I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but like for the longest time, I just had no idea what it was or what I wanted to do. So I did nothing, which I think is what a lot of people do, right? Like you just, when you don't know what to do, you just feel stuck and you don't do anything. So I was like, okay, this is
so for context, when was this? Like, when were you not taking action?
Probably like college years, which was like 12, 15 years ago.
Got it. Okay.
So when I was like, okay, like I want to do something that's my own. I know that there's more in me. I don't want to just work. I had like an administrative job. I don't want to do this like for the rest of my life. And at that time I didn't have any kids yet, so I decided to like start a blog and I was like, I love fashion. I'll start a fashion blog. So I did that, but I really like treated it more as like a hobby kind of a thing, but I gained a lot of experience from it. Then I got pregnant with my first son and had to go back to work. Like I had a C-section. I had to go back to work 6 weeks after he was born.
Jeez.
Like my first baby, had to go back to work full time, literally just so we could like keep our bills paid. Like there was no option for me to not go back to work. And that was like the hardest thing ever. And that's when I really started to like be like, okay, this is not what I want for my life. And if I want something different, I have to like start doing something different. So I decided, I kind of like didn't do much for like a year or two until I had my daughter a couple years later. And then I had to go back to work again. And
wow,
I cut my hours back a little bit, like 30, like down from 40 to 30. But it was just, I was like, I cannot keep doing this. Like, I'm not seeing my babies. I want to be home with them. And like, we're still struggling financially. Like what's the like payoff here? So that's when I was like, I'm just starting something because I need to do something. So that's when I decided to start an online boutique because I liked clothes. I had done the blog and I was like, I have no experience, but I can learn. So I found a course on like e-commerce and learned like how to source products and how to like build an e-commerce website and all that stuff. And I just went all in with my vision in mind of quitting my job, being home with my babies, like that was literally what drove me to action,
Mm.
was having that vision and like feeling those feelings of like, what is it going to feel like when I get to quit my job and be home with my kids? So I launched that and I scaled it organically on Instagram.
What year was this?
This was 2016.
Okay. Okay. So you launched your online boutique. So you knew nothing. You absolutely, you bought a course. You're like, that sounds cool. I love clothes. I want to do an online boutique. I feel like that's such a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, you know what? That sounds fun. I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
And you did it. So you had like, how did you do that? Did you have the clothes in your house and you were like actually shipping them out?
Yeah. So I sourced, like I bought some products wholesale. I did like a pre-sale scenario, like where I was like, hey, you can shop early or whatever. But yeah, I had them in my house. I shipped them out of my house, and it like my first, like, I think it was my first like 45 days, I did $6,000. And like, for me at that time, like that was like, oh my gosh. Like,
yeah, you saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I saw it. And I was just willing to learn, you know? So I learned and I implemented, and there were late nights that I stayed up, you know, after the kids went to bed, or with my laptop while I was nursing, you know? But then I started to see and really understand what was possible. And I just went all in on social media. That's really where I started like getting like the foundations of like, where I learned how to like grow and make sales on social media. I'd be like in the bathroom on my bathroom break, like throwing up a post, you know, like back in like the old Instagram where it was only photos. It's changed so much since then, but yeah, I ran
the simple days.
Yeah, right. The old days. But yeah, I scaled that to multiple six figures in sales. Loved it. But then I started to get questions from other small business owners that were, a lot of them like product-based businesses, because that's kind of like the space I was in. Like, how are you doing this? How are you making sales on Instagram? How are you growing your business? So then that's when I started looking into creating more like digital offers to help other people learn. So I started doing that. Probably started doing that in like 2019, 2019-ish. And I like juggled the two for a while. And then I started to get really burnt out. It was just like too much. And I did, that's a big part that I skipped. I did get to quit my job with my boutique.
What did that look like?
So that was like so amazing. It was probably like, I think my daughter was like 9 months old. And I quit once my income from the boutique replaced my income from my job. And it was just the most amazing feeling in the world. It was exactly like I envisioned it feeling. So
can we pause there for just a second? Because I know there are so many people listening who would love to quit their current job. You know, that's one of their big goals, is to be able to go all in. And leave the other things so they can pursue their side thing as full time. So what was that like? Because you say you went all in on the side business. Were there times where you were like, you were tempted to quit early and go like even more all in, you know, full time all in? Or was it one of those things, was it like an agreement with your husband or just an agreement with yourself? Like, once we hit this amount per month, that's my green light. Like, take us through that thought process, because I think it'll be really helpful. Because for me, I had clients in my old business, whenever I was managing social media. And once I made my first dollar, I was like, I'm out. I'm about to be a millionaire. Deuces. I fired everybody, and it was so hard. And obviously I wouldn't change it because it got me to where I am, but it was so damn hard. And I know I totally could have balanced. I just didn't want to do the balance. So from somebody who's done the opposite, take us through that thought process.
Yeah. I mean, with quitting, it was like, okay, if we can replace my salary in like consistently, it was like 3 months, I think. Then we were like, then I'm done. So that's what we did. Once I got to that point, I quit. And gosh, it was the best feeling because I had seen it, but like that's what drove me to action every day in my business was that vision that I had in mind. And it was like, it was a hustle, like,
yeah,
it wasn't like easy. Like I said, I had like late nights. I had to ship out like products. Like I had like my sister-in-law at one point, she like helped me do like my shipping. Like it wasn't like easy. And there for sure were a lot of times where I like thought about quitting. Like this maybe just isn't going to work, or maybe this is just too hard. But it was like that vision that kept me going. Cause I'm like, if I quit and I go back to what I'm doing, then like, how am I going to get to where I want to go? Yeah. So it definitely was hard. I always like feel like one thing I've learned in my business journey, and I'm sure you would probably agree, I feel like the best things are like right around the corner from like the hard moments.
Oh,
like,
big time.
When you want to quit, when you want to give up, when you're like, this sucks, it's not working, I'm tired, like whatever, like there's so much goodness on the other side of that. So now I've learned to like lean into that instead of like run from it. But there were for sure times where I just thought about giving up, but my vision kept me going. So, yeah. And then, so fast forward 2019, I started doing the coaching and juggled them both for a while. And then I was like, they were both kind of like, I couldn't give my all to both. Some people can do that. I just had a really hard time with that.
I don't know how people do it either.
I don't know either. It was like, I felt like I just wasn't giving, I was like hurting both businesses really. So I made the really, really hard decision to close my boutique, which was like literally when I kind of probably similar experience to what you had when you had to like let all your clients go. Cause like it was my baby. I built it up. It was like this brand. It was successful. It didn't make sense to anyone else. They were like, you're making sales. This is successful. It's making you money. Why? Because like at that point, my boutique was actually making more than my coaching business was. So it didn't make sense. But sometimes following your heart doesn't make sense, right?
No.
So then that's really where I was feeling pulled, was in the coaching. So I closed that down, like dove into helping other women grow their businesses online, helping them grow a presence and a brand on social media. And I've had a whole lots of different, like digital products and courses and offers since then. And, there was a period of time I didn't just start going all in with that business and it just took off immediately. It actually like was a couple years of like, okay, like it felt very like plateaued for a while. And that was another period when it's like, okay, like, do I want to keep doing this? And like, even my husband, who is so supportive, he was like, okay, so do you think like this is going to work kind of a thing? But I stuck with it and I was willing to just try things and throw things out there and, not see failures as failures, but just as like data and like, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. Okay, that didn't work.
Good.
Let's try this. And like, I learned so much through that implementation that I don't think I would have learned any other way. And eventually like I found my sweet spot and like things started to click. And now like my business is more successful than I ever imagined. And it's so fulfilling helping so many other women start their online businesses. And I love it so much, but I could have never like envisioned that way back when I was just thinking about starting my boutique, but you just have to get started with something and like, you'll figure it out as you go. You don't have to have the whole plan. Like, I don't know where I'll be in 5 years, like, but you just keep doing the thing.
Oh, girl, we don't know where we're going to be in 5 months.
Right.
I mean, with all of the new tools that are coming out every single day, and like we have Threads now. Threads wasn't a thing just a few months ago, and the way that Instagram changes and using Reels wasn't a thing 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So the rate at which the online space obviously changes, and with AI and again, all the tools and the way of doing business and the strategies that work, let alone if you're running a business on it and you're trying to teach it, it's really, really fascinating. But what I love, okay, well, before I get into like my thoughts on your story and my deepening questions, I would love to hear what the timeline was more specifically when you shifted to teaching. And you said that there was like some time, I think you said a couple of years where it was okay, but it wasn't as fast as maybe you anticipated. It felt a little plateaued. And then there was a point where things clicked for you. And I would love to hear what that timeline is, because I know for anybody who is experiencing a plateau or who's getting started, or like, I know for me, I mean, I say this constantly in every single episode, entrepreneurship comes in waves. I'm in a plateau right now, so it's like, it feels good to hear that like the plateau doesn't last forever unless you quit. And then that's just the end of your story.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think so. I started the coaching to 2019. It was sometime 2020 when I decided to close down the boutique. I just remember it was sometime when I was stuck at home. And, at that point, like most of my courses and programs were like centered around Instagram, Instagram growth, that kind of a thing. Which I liked, but I really wanted to help women more with like the deep things that matter, like the foundations in growing your business versus like,
hashtags,
like, use these hashtags, use this, use like this hook, like, use
people
this trending
like,
audio.
What filter do I choose? What preset? And I'm like, I want to talk about reprogramming your brain. Yeah. Okay. Like let's get to the juice here. People are like, but what app do you use to add text on? And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to jump out a window.
Oh my gosh. I relate so much. Yes. It's like, that's like all of the like sprinkles on top of your like content that really like, they can make it like pretty and help a little bit, but it's not the foundation to like experiencing.
It's like, that's not why you're like, your preset isn't why you're not making money, baby. Like we need to, let's talk about this.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So, and I like fought that for a while. Cause I was like, well, like, I'm just going to keep doing like the like Instagram thing or whatever, even though like in my heart, I wanted to do something different. And then it was like when I finally like started leaning into helping women like actually start from scratch, like I did, like with no experience, like not knowing what to do. Like that's really when things started to shift for me. And really when I just like stopped caring about what people think, which I know it sounds like so cliche, like don't care what people think, like just show up unapologetically. But that's really what it was, especially in my content. Cause like, I remember being like afraid to be like, hey, like comment like below if you want me to like send you this link or tell me your thought. Like I was nervous to like give like calls to action in my content because I was like, well, what if nobody does? Then I'm going to look stupid, like, and
trust me, we've all done it where nobody commented.
Yeah.
It's not a good time and it's part of it.
Right. Exactly. So I just was like, you know what? I don't care. Like, I don't care if no one comments. I'm here. I'm doing my thing. Like, I'm going for it. I'm building my business, like trusting my heart, trusting like my intuitions, the things that I feel like I'm called to do. And then things started to pick up momentum, but it didn't just like magically pick up momentum. I like really, cause I was saying, it's easy to say like, I'm doing all the things. I'm like doing everything right. But then when you like take a step back, you're like, okay, am I really doing everything I know to do? to
Yeah.
make this happen.
Right. Right. Am I doing the right things? Like
mhm.
you can run yourself ragged and busy all day long, but like I've been talking about this lately this week, that Pareto principle, right? 80% of your results are going to come from only 20% of your actions. So people literally are so busy doing quote unquote what they assume is all of the things, when it's like, yeah, but two of those things need to be done really well because that's where your results are going to come from. And they're
Right.
avoiding those things.
Right. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Totally. It's like spending 3 hours a day on making your website look pretty is not going to make you
Right.
money.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah. But it's easy to get caught up in those things, like the busy work kind of a thing.
It is. And I'm not, when I say that, like, I'm not making fun. We've all been there.
Oh yeah.
And the only reason why I can point that out now is because I witnessed it in myself. I had to call it out in myself. And now, because I've been there and I have that level of awareness, I can see it when other people are doing it too. And you're absolutely right. It's like you and I have similar stories in regard to when things took off for me. It was very similar. It was like, okay, I'm going to start talking about the things that I actually want to talk about. Not talking about hashtags anymore. Sorry. And I'm going to allow myself to be more of who I am, and also stop putting at the bottom of my to-do list the thing that's most important because I'm afraid of failing, or because I'm afraid that it's going to be hard or it's going to be awkward. Like, that's the thing that's actually going to move the needle. And I love how you said the feeling, like you start to move toward that feeling now, the nervousness, the feeling of like, oh gosh, what if this doesn't work? Because you're absolutely right. That's where the growth comes from. When you do the thing, when you go through the hard season, like that's a good sign. But so many people are addicted to comfort that they feel any ounce of anxiety, any ounce of discomfort, any ounce of nervousness. They say, oh no, this is bad. I'm in a dangerous zone. Let me go numb out some more. Let me go get comfortable and put a big old blanket around myself and wonder why I'm not moving and going anywhere, because I'm saying that I want to do it. I'm doing quote all the things, but when things get hard, I retract. And you said it so well. Like, you've got to recognize that that is actually good for you. It is helping you.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's so true. It's so true. And yeah, the best things are on the other side of that. And I tell my students, I'm like, you have to like get to a place where like your vision and your desires are louder than your fears. Like you have to make them louder in your head and make them stronger in your head. So, I mean, that's really what I had to do. But then I had to do like what you're saying. I had to assess and be like, what are my income producing actions? Like, what do I have to do every day to meet my goal? Because like, it's really the daily actions that lead to the end goal, whatever your end goal is. Like, me and my husband, I think I told you about this when we were in Nashville, but we went to Disney World like back in August, my husband and
Just
I.
you two.
Yep, just the two of us. I'm like total Disney.
That was my favorite part. I was like, wait, you have 3 children, and that's amazing.
And we went alone. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I've gotten like, since I was a kid,
I love it.
It's a nostalgic thing for me. But we went like we were planning a trip to go without our kids. And I was like, I want to stay at the nice place. Like, I want to stay at the Grand Floridian, which is like
so
really
beautiful.
Nice, beautiful hotel there. I had never stayed there before, and I've been going there since I was a kid, So I was like, that's my goal. Like, that's like the tangible thing that I'm putting as my goal. And this was like in May when I had launched like a new digital product. And I was like, okay, if I can make like 1 sale a day, like if I can make 1 sale a day, then I'll feel like I can reach my goal. And I literally like saw myself and like felt what it would feel like to like check into the nice hotel and be like, I belong here. Like this, like, I'm not going into debt to stay here. Like, this is easy and I can pay for this and we can have fun. And like, my business is making money. Like, I really like just felt those feelings. And I like let that drive me to action every day of, okay, what do I need to do today to make that 1 sale? And then the next day, okay, what do I need to do to make that 1 sale? And then it probably took, and for me and for most people, that thing is marketing or
I
content.
was going to ask
Right.
you what are the actions? Because
Yeah.
there's not a lot of them. It's very
Right.
quite simple.
Right. For me, it was, I mean, obviously, like, I had to take the time, and I teach my students how to, like, take the time to, like, okay, you have to get, like, honed in on your messaging. You have to, like, figure out who you're speaking to, like, all of those things. But then I literally just, like, repeated myself every day in my content. I talked about the same thing, I was talking to the same person, you know, just showcasing my product as, like, the solution, as, like, the thing that's bridging the gap between what my ideal customer, like, where they are now and where they want to go. And I was just, like, presenting it as the solution. And just, like, also showing up to connect and serve people and, like, actually talk to people and have conversations, and respond to messages and things like that. So that was really, like, those are my income producing actions. For me, it was, like, one reel a day on the weekdays, and then, like, engaging daily, except for, like, I gave myself the weekends off.
Wait, okay, pause. Engaging daily, because this is, I want people to hear this. This is part of the strategy, and it's a big piece. But I will say I go in seasons with this. Like, there are seasons where I'm super in my DMs and, like, I want to engage. I want to hear about your puppy and, like, where y'all are going on vacation and what you had a dream about last night and, like, the type of ice cream that you're loving right now. Like, but then there are other seasons, for example, like this season I'm in right now, like I have less bandwidth just because
Yeah.
I've got a small baby. We're still not fully sleeping. There's a lot going on, you know, and that's fine. But I'm just curious, what does that look like for you? Like, from a strategic perspective, you post a reel a day and then you show up in your stories. And I want to talk more about that because I think you're so brilliant with your marketing, and I want to dive deeper. But as far as engagement, what does this actually look like?
Yeah. So for me, I mean, like I said, kind of all my content's based around, like, presenting a solution to my customers, but really, like, serving them with my product. So it doesn't feel like selling. Like, I know a lot of people are afraid of being salesy. Like, you're serving them with your content. But as far as, like, engagement goes, I, like, would always have something in, like, my reel, and I prioritize reels during this time, and I still do, because it is, like, kind of the, like, most prioritized form of content, like, in
It
the
absolutely
algorithm,
is,
like, just
unfortunately.
across the internet, across the board. You know, there's TikTok, there's, like, YouTube Shorts. It's just, like, everything's video content. So I can't even remember the last time I did, like, a normal post besides a reel. So I was like, I'm going to do a reel, and I would either, like, ask a question in there, or like, I use chat automations, like, and that's, like, part of, like, the passive systems that I teach to, like, help get my resources to people, like, when they're looking for it. So I would be like, hey, comment passive below and I'll send you the link to my free guide, like, with all the steps to get started. So someone does that, and that, like, starts a conversation in your DMs with someone, right? So it's beneficial in two ways, where it's getting someone the resource right when they're on, because we know how important it is to keep people's attention on social media, like, when they're there. But then also it starts conversation. So I do it that way. And then, you know, I always, like, follow up with, like, hey, if you have any questions, like, I'm here to chat. So I leave that open. And then I just, like, take the time to, like, respond to comments, respond to questions. And then in my stories, I do things in my stories to drum up engagement.
Okay. Now, you use ManyChat, and this is the automation piece. So I'm sure people listening, you've seen this. You've seen me do this. You've seen other people do this, where it's like this newer, it's not like super new, but I feel like it's more utilized now, where people are giving a call to action, you comment, and you get an automatic DM. And I think you can do other things too, but I think that's, like, the main way that people use it. So utilize ManyChat. And when you do this, so let's say, like, you made a post and somebody says, okay, I want your playbook. So passive, and it sends them. So does it just say, like, hey, here's the link to the playbook, grab it. And then the call to action is, if you have any questions, let me know. That is that the conversation opener? Or does it
Yeah.
go deeper? Does it say like, what kind of business do you have? And then you let them respond.
Yep. It's pretty simple. So I do like, hey, like here's the link to the info on the playbook as you requested, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then it has like a little like learn more button. So they can click that button. It takes them to the sales page. And I have like an Instagram version of my sales page that's like way more dumbed down than like
Mm-hmm.
my big long form sales page. That's just like bullets to the point. Here's what you're getting, a couple testimonials. When I switched that like I saw a like shift in my conversions.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, hey, yeah, if you have any questions about anything, reach out. I'm here to chat. Because people know that it's a automation and people are fine with it. But it is nice to be like, hey, if you do want to chat, I actually am here to chat.
I really am a human. I'm not Brie bot.
Yeah, right.
I'm actually really pleasantly surprised by the response of people being cool. Cause I feel like a year ago, if somebody had been like, you know, there's going to come a time where you're using this chat automation. And I mean, again, this has been around for a while, but I never embraced it. Cause I was like, no, people aren't going to vibe with that. Like people don't want to talk to robots, but what's cool about it. And I think the thing that people appreciate is the speed at which they can say, I'm interested, and they get the information. They can move. Otherwise, you, like you said, you lose people's interests.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And that's what, like in the beginning, I was like, okay, I can manage this manually. I'll just send people links manually. Well, then I'm like, my whole goal is to like automate things as much as possible. And if I'm always having to be on my phone responding to people, I'm like, that's not what I'm going for. And also, like, I'm not serving them if it's 3 hours later and they've moved on and they're trying to like feed their family dinner and they might just forget about it. That's like human nature. Like how many times do we abandon carts when we're shopping or whatever? So yeah, I love the automations, but then I weave lots of like authenticity and real conversation into my content and in my stories and things like that. So I do think that most people appreciate it. And it is like, as a business owner, it's such a weight lifted because you're able to get someone what they're asking for, who's interested. You're able to get it to them literally immediately. So
yeah, it's a fantastic strategy. So, okay, that's helpful to know like what your DMs look like and the time that you're spending. You're just taking the time and it's a priority. It's part of it's not just this thing that you kind of make time for. It's part of your business. These are your office hours that you're prioritizing here. Mm-hmm. And I want to say too, you're so good at, I'm going to say this, but like, I don't mean it in a simple way, like keeping your marketing simple and it's so effective. Like I feel like the more simple it can be, the more effective. And you're so good at while you're on a walk or while you're out with your babies or you're at Disney World or you're about to get your nails done or you're just in the car at, car pickup, taking a cute little picture or a little video and posting a screen grab of somebody's testimonial for one of your programs or a DM of somebody saying, Brie, I just made my first $100, first $1,000. And you're so good at using that as your marketing. And to your point, serving and showcasing the solution. And I couldn't agree with you more. I think a lot of people, they have this anxiety and this like weird charge and frequency with the word selling. Yeah. So they don't allow themselves to do it. But all you're doing, if you really believe in what you're selling, right, and you really believe it's the solution to your audience's problem, you are serving them. Hey, you want to make more money? I've got the thing for you here. Allow me to cut a slice of this for you. You're welcome. It totally changes that. And I love watching you market because it feels so seamless to your day to day. Like you're not making these super fancy graphics. You're not going like over the top. It feels very attainable. Yep. It feels like if I didn't have the business that I had and I was following you and I had any desire in my bones to start a business, but I had any doubt, if I saw you, I would be like, okay, if it can look like that and be as successful as she is, I'm in. Like, say less, I'm in. You're just so brilliant at your strategy in that way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really try to just like, because like I want to show my students and clients that like you can do this. Like it doesn't have to look perfect. Like I like don't have makeup on like most days, you know, but I'm still like
Hmm.
in my stories and showing that transformation and showing how it's making a difference like for me in my life and how it's making a difference in my students' life and how it's affecting them and helping them with also, I mean, like you said, like the real life things like, hey, I'm in the carpool pickup line, but I just got this DM. You know, it doesn't have to be a lot of times, especially with social media. Like you said earlier, people focus on like, does my grid have to look perfect? Do I have to make fancy covers in Canva? Like all of this stuff. I'm like, no, like just get it out there. Like just
Yeah.
just get it out there. Some of the most like successful accounts on Instagram like are not like aesthetic. And I think it's important to have like a brand and colors and like a vibe. But
But
it
a
does not.
brand isn't an aesthetic, right?
Right,
Like it's
exactly.
something that you can
Exactly.
have, but you're absolutely right. There are a lot of people, like I think of Glennon Doyle, who is one of the greatest authors of our generation. And, you know, she has an insane audience and following and message. And I think the last time I looked at her page, I mean, it was a hot ass mess. Like it doesn't matter if you have
Right.
a message and you're taking action and
Mm-hmm.
you figured out what your zone of genius is and you double the hell down on that and you serve and you serve and you
Yep.
serve like it's your job because it is, you're going to get somewhere. And
Yep.
that's exactly what you've done.
Yep.
Do you feel comfortable sharing? And if you don't have to share this because it's deeply, deeply personal, but do you feel comfortable sharing your revenue growth and like even like a roundabout of what it looks like, maybe what it was a year ago versus what it is now? And by the way, we could totally take this out if you don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, totally. No, I feel comfortable. And I always like, I try to be transparent, even like with my audience on Instagram, because I want them to see like what's possible. Like, that's really what, like, in the beginning, what made me think, okay, maybe I can start a boutique is because I saw another mom who had an e commerce business who was like, went from 0 to 100K in a year. Like, if I can do this, you can do this. So, like,
Same. Yeah.
I think it's so important to share that like in an authentic way. Obviously there's like a lot of like scammy crap on Instagram, you
Yeah.
know, where someone's like, I made $1 million in 3 weeks. But
Yeah.
I always emphasize like anything that's worth anything, like it takes work and it takes intention and it doesn't happen overnight, but you absolutely can have insane results and growth. And for me, I mean, if I think like this time last year was probably like when I was in like a really in between spot where I was like teaching
Mm-hmm.
like my old kind of like Instagram strategy course and like trying to like figure out, okay, what's the offer where I can really start helping women like start from scratch. Um, and that's when I decided to start in the spring of this year is when I started working on my passive profit playbook, which is like my like foundational offer
Mm-hmm.
to helping women like start with like one digital product, right? Like just start with the one thing. Like you don't have to know all of the things, just start with something. So I mean, this time last year, I mean, my revenues were super inconsistent. I mean, if I had a $5,000 month, that was like a really good month.
Shut up.
Yeah.
This time last year,
Yeah.
dude, what y'all wait till you hear what she's doing right now. You're gonna die. OMG.
I know.
This is what makes me so happy though. Like, and this is why I asked this question. I didn't realize it was that drastic of a difference, but holy shit. Like this is because I know you were about to blow some people's minds on what
Mhm.
is possible because we've all been in that season of like, damn, if this
Mhm.
doesn't improve at some point, then I just don't have what it takes. Like I just, you know,
Right.
and you hear what other people are doing and it can mess with your head. Okay. So go ahead. Keep going,
Yep.
please.
Yep. So like I said, like I had like put out a ton of different things, like just testing to see what worked. And this was like one of the things that I was like, okay, like let's try this. But it felt the most aligned, like in my heart. Like it felt like the thing that like this is my this is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I launched that in May. I think back then, gosh, I'd have to go back and look. I think I had 20,000 followers back then on Instagram. And my first month, gosh, I have an Instagram post where I like go through it month by month, and I can't remember what the first month was. I literally can't remember. I feel like it was like 10 or something, which was awesome. Like,
Yeah.
so awesome. Because I had kind of thrown everything out of the water and like wasn't really making much revenue at all. The like late winter, early spring, because I basically like burned everything and was like rebuilding. So, but then June was 45K, and then July was 75K, and then August and September were both past the 6-figure mark. September was 125. 125. and what are we? October 17th, I'm at 60, I think, for the month.
Oh my God.
Which is it sounds insane and like fast, but I tell my students, like, it's the compounded action over time. Like, if I hadn't done the work and tested and learned and tried and saw what did and didn't work, it seems really fast, but it's a combination of things, but it's because I like finally did the thing that I like felt in my heart that I needed to do. I took the stinking action, the right actions every day. I mean, that really is the biggest thing.
Well, that's why I asked you your background.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't come in here and I was like, yo, she's at 6 figures a month. Here's what she does now. Yeah. It'd be like, cool. Thanks. But like, to hear that there was a time where you quit your job to be home with your babies, had another baby, had to go back to your job, quit again, or like lowered your hours, was balancing this boutique that you had no idea how to run, and you just figured it out, super scrappy, balancing both worlds, finally get to the point where you're breaking even on the job versus the business, quit the business, decide that this business that's paying you isn't really the thing that you want to do. Everybody thinks that you're crazy. You shift your business and you pivot toward what you're actually passionate about. You have to do that a couple of times. You're putting out these offers. You're hitting about 5K a month, which is like, okay. But all the while, data. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I tried this, didn't work. Let me tweak it this way. Okay, that worked a little bit more. Let me tweak it a little bit more this way. Let me say this a little different. Let me do this a little different. Wow, that worked really well. And then the next thing you know, boom.
Yep.
And it freaking clicks. But this is like, how many years is that, Brie, that it took you to get to this point?
Oh my gosh. I mean, if you go back to, I started the boutique in 2016, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you go all the way back to that, I started my coaching, I guess, in 2019. So,
yeah,
that's what, 4 years? Yeah.
And again, it kind of leads me to where you and I came together, because we started working together when things like started really popping off. And I'll never forget, you reach out to me, you're like, Allie, I don't know what's happening. I do know, but this is crazy. I'm like, girl, it's your time to shine. Let's go, Yeah. And it's just been so cool, because you were popping off well before you can't, like, you were already doing the damn thing, and like, anyway, hearing what you're doing and seeing from my perspective, your zone of genius, it's like, oh, damn. And the sexiest part about what it is that you do is how simplified it is. That's the thing. Like, you're doing this mostly from a $97 offer, digital passive. She has done it one time. She has created a funnel. And she's got this automation. So your job, quite literally, is to show up, create a reel a day, engage, build some connection, show that you're a real life human, share how this is supporting other people, and it just runs its freaking self. Like, the gasoline is the content and the marketing, and then the engine is the thing that you set one time and walked away. And it's just like, I'm obsessed, because I know so many people in their own right who are creating the most incredible businesses and it's great. But I don't think I've yet to come across somebody who is doing it at and hitting these type of results in as simplified as a manner of that you are.
Mm-hmm.
So that is like, I'm so blown away by it. And you should be so proud of yourself. I mean, I tell you this every day of your life, but I'm like, Brie, you're a rock star. Yeah. But, anyway, it's so cool. But like, it brings me to where you and I kind of came together because number one, I saw what you're doing. I'm like, I want some of that. You know, like I'm sitting here sending these messages myself. I'm all up, you know, like if anybody needs passive in their world, it's me. It's just one of those things that like, I'll do it later. I'll come to it later. I'll come to it later,
Right.
you know? And the reason why you came to me is to diversify and kind of like kick up your offers a notch, right? How to take them from this $97 offer and create the offer ladder and grow what is an insane business right now to like even more insane business, you know, by nurturing and continuing to serve these people who love you and who you've earned their trust through this offer.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things, like, I'll never forget, we were Voxering one day and we were just like, I was like, you know, you bring this to the table. I bring this to the table. What would it look like if we somehow join forces?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have like the pieces of the puzzle, you know, but just different.
Yep.
And we're like, yeah, that's a cool idea. And what was it like 2 weeks later, we're in Nashville together? How fast was it?
Oh yeah, it was so fast. You were like, this would be cool. I was like, yes. Hey, I booked a flight. I think I booked it in the middle of the night at like 1 a.m. and you didn't even know that I booked it.
Yeah. You were like, I booked a flight. I was like, great. I'll figure out an Airbnb.
But yeah, it was fast. It was so fast.
Well, and that's a point too.
Yeah.
That I know that we wanted to talk about because while your story, my story, anybody who's achieved anything in 99.9% of most cases, especially with business and especially online business, it's a process. It's a road, right? To get there. And then like things pop off and it looks like an overnight success. And we all know how that works.
Right.
And as you kind of start figuring out and you got a foundation under your feet and you realize what it is that you're doing, there comes a point where you start taking action faster.
Yep.
And I think about this a lot because I have seasons where I feel like I'm like in an overthinking season. And then there are seasons where my confidence, I think it's totally linked to your confidence. Yep. And my confidence is a little bit higher and I move faster. And you can't deny when you move faster and you have higher confidence and you don't overthink the things move and things happen. And we love that. And in our case, like that's kind of a common denominator with both of us is we both, when we get ideas, we don't sit there and like, okay, let's sit down and let's like look at the optics and let's figure out. It's just like, no, I love that idea. I'm going to book a plane ticket. We're going to get together. Let's take some cute pictures and let's get this on and poppin'. And I wanted people to hear that, even if that's the only thing we say about that.
Yeah.
I want people to hear that because we've put together what I'm calling a super offer because to me, that's what it is.
I love it.
And I know one day we're going to look back and be like, holy shit, like from this random idea and us moving really fast, you know, within a span of a couple weeks, getting together, taking some cute pictures and delivering and serving our audience in this way. This happened. Like, look what we created. Look what we helped people do.
Yeah.
And it's because we moved fast and we didn't over freaking think it. Now, how has this been? Do you have anything to add? Like, how you've learned how to do this yourself? Because like I said, I've had seasons where, and I feel like in the beginning of my business, it was all overthinking because you don't really know and you're more nervous. You don't know it's going to work. But the faster you move, even if you mess up, you're learning, right? And it's like, okay, that didn't work. Now we get to hurry to the part that does work. So Just wanted to see if you wanted to riff on it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I love that. And I think I've learned the same thing, like in business, like just like you're never gonna know if something is gonna come of something if you don't just try it and like throw it out there. And I have found that a lot of times it's the things that I throw out there because I'm excited about them that really do the best. Like especially when you're marketing your business on social media, like people feel that, like people can feel through your content how you're showing up and if you're excited about something. So
$1,000,000%.
yeah, I love it. I love that we just like jumped on it so fast and I'm so excited about it. It's gonna be so good.
Well, and I want to add something to what you just said, because what you just said was really powerful. And this is, I'm glad you said it, because this is one of the reasons why I try and remind myself to move. Because when you get a good idea, not to say that every single idea that runs through your head, you need to jump on. That's not what I'm saying. But you know, when you get a goodie, right?
Yeah.
And the energy behind it. And that energy is magnetic. When you feel something and you're like, oh, damn. And that's how we felt. Like when we started having this conversation, I was like, do you think? And you're like, oh my God, that would be brilliant. Are you kidding? And like the energy was palpable. Now, if we had been like, you know, Halloween's here, so my kids like probably want to go trick or treating. So, and like, you know, Brie's going to Hawaii this week. And then next thing you know, Thanksgiving. And then the next thing you know, Christmas. And nobody, you know, I heard that people don't like to buy over the holidays. So maybe we table this until January, right? Like, let's just be safe. Let's get through the holidays. We'll come back together. I would put a lot of money down that we would never do it.
Oh, 100%. Totally.
Or if we did, it just wouldn't be the same. Like that energy of the good idea. And I truly believe, like there's, what's the book by Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic? She talks about this. She like where the, you know, if you believe in, I don't know, she goes there, but it's like this, there's a creative muse that floats around. And when you're receptive and you're tapped in, they drop this idea on your head. And if you don't move on it, they're going to move on to somebody else who will move on it. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because I really do believe, again, not every single idea that comes through your head is a banger. Trust me, I know. I've tested that theory too. Nope. But yeah, when you get the idea, move, go, because the more that and the more that I tinker with it, and I'm like, well, maybe because when we thought of this idea, which we're going to tell you guys about it, obviously. But when we got it, it was very clear. We're like, this is going to be a program. And we want it to be like we already knew the price point. You know, we're like, we like that. And I think if we had, and there was a moment where we're like, well, should we make it more of like this, or should we mess with it more of it like that? Then you're kind of like, you're taking that idea and you're altering it from a very mind-based 3D human perspective, which sometimes is okay, but sometimes that first idea is the move. I'm proud of ourselves for keeping the idea. And it's badass. So do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yay! Okay. So like I said, Brie and I, we bring different levels of expertise to the table. You know, she has figured out, and I would say completely nailed the passive side and the simplicity and like, hey, start here and set it and forget it. I bring the like, okay, let's pour gasoline on that fire. You know, let's take that thing or the idea that you have, and let's take it next level and take it from an idea and a thing that works to a business, to like a legacy type vibe, a brand type vibe, you know? So those two things come together, the super offer that we're calling passive social sales, because that's exactly what it is. And what we're going to be teaching, because this is available right now, as this goes live, you can join. The price point, I think, is like half of what it will be eventually. Right. Yeah. Because it's not coming out. It won't be available till November. So we're pre-selling it right now at like an insane deal. And what you're going to learn in this is our signature 3-tiered passive organic business model to create raving clients and scalable sales. You're going to learn step-by-step guidance on your brand and social media aesthetic, because that's important. Your brand and your aesthetic is important. So we're going to talk about that, how to create and attract in the right clients so that people will actually buy from you. We're going to talk about how to decide the revenue that actually makes sense for you and that you actually want to claim, and how to structure this 3-tiered system to hit that level of revenue, which is very important. We don't want to just say, I want a 7-figure business and then sell a $97 offer with 300 people following you. The math doesn't math. So we need to figure that out. Brie, of course, is going to teach us all how to automate this thing, how to put it in the machine. Through your social media, through ManyChat, and the funnel piece. So she's showing both. She's not only going to show ManyChat, but she's going to show the funnel piece, for all of those funnels that are going to serve your people. And then we're going to talk about social media content too. Because again, if you want, like, you can have the funnel all day, but if you don't understand how to market these things in an effective way, nobody's going to buy. So that is passive social sales. And you can go to the link in the show notes or either of our Instagrams and learn more about it and join.
Oh, I'm so excited. I like wanted to start right now.
I know. I know, but you're going to Hawaii, so.
Yes, I'm going to Hawaii. Yes. So.
Because she's living. And that was the driver. And what got us most excited about this, what makes me personally, selfishly, the most excited about this is because what I teach, some of it can be passive for sure, but it's a little bit more hands-on in the way that I've traditionally taught it. You know, you're going to have your moments where you are hosting the call and you are, doing the things. But with this, you can go and set it and create it and then take off all of the holidays and just let it run for you and batch a little bit of content and schedule your content, or take 5 minutes a day, post your content, let that fuel the machine and go live your life. And that's our tagline for this is set it, forget it, and live your life.
So good. Yeah. I love it. It's so good. It really is like, it like makes me so excited when I was like, think about how we were like in that moment, like, what was it? Was it a month ago that we even had this idea? It was not that long ago.
No, it wasn't.
But it just makes sense. Like, you have helped me to like build in the offers like next level to help my students and my clients at different points in their journey. So I love that we're teaching that. And it's really like, it's like building a business by design, like based on what you want and like what your goals are and what is your revenue goal. Cause that's going to look different for everyone. So
yeah, it's going to be we're not going to be like, okay, you need to go for this goal.
Right.
It's going to be like, here's how to determine what your goal is and what it wants to look like and what your offer wants to look like. We're not going to say you need to create first a digital product and then you need to have a course. And we're just going to present you a bunch of different ideas and show you how to set it in a funnel and how to automate it and how to price it to hit your goal, and then how to market it to get to the people. So it's fully customizable so that you can live while you earn and earn while you live. So we have a few more minutes. I would love to hear before we go, because you touched on a couple of things or one thing specifically that I really wanted to go deep on. And I think it's important for this conversation too. And that's like the mindset piece. And you mentioned a few times how it's not that you knew the actions to take. It's that you started with a vision. It was the vision that fueled you, but then you took it even deeper and you're like, I felt the feelings of walking into the Floridian and paying it with cash and being comfortable. And like, that was the thing that pushed you. So do you have practices around this? Do you meditate? Like, what does your mindfulness practices look like, if you even, or you may not have any, you may keep it that simple, which I think I would fall in love with you even more. So just tell us, what does
Yeah,
that look like?
totally. Yeah, I have like I've never really been like the person to like keep up with a vision board, and like I've tried to, and I've like made the cute thing and then it like sat in a closet somewhere, you know? Um but like yeah, for me, like at least the way my brain works, it helps when I have short-term goals. Like for me, saying like I want to build my dream home in 5 years, like that's awesome. And I do want to do that, but like I need something that's like more tangible and like
That you can feel now.
yes, that I can feel now. Like, and that could be anything, you know what I mean? But like that was the thing. And I do think it's really important to like, because like one of the biggest like things that come up when I'm having conversations with women who are thinking about starting something is like it's always the same. Like, well, what I see so many people doing what I'm doing. What's going to make someone want to buy from me when there's other people selling this? And like, what if I don't have what it like? It's just like your brain is full of all of the like negative what ifs. And like you can't do anything if you let that kind of crap take up all of the space in your brain. Like because the truth is like there's a lot of people that like do what I do. You know what I mean? But like
Oh
I'm a
yeah, I
firm
say all the
believer.
time. I'm a dime a dozen. Like what it is that I teach is a dime a
Mhm.
dozen. I am the differentiator. You are the differentiator. This
Yes.
person who's listening to this is the secret sauce behind the thing. Like you're
Right.
going to you teach what you teach in a different way. I teach what I teach in a different way. But the overall, yeah, there's online business coaches for sand on the beach. You know, they're a bajillion right now. But guess what? Cream rises to the top. And the
Mhm.
second that business gets hard, they go and they, flow on to the next shiny object thing. Not everybody is meant to stay in this space. So I agree with you. I said yesterday in my stories, your mind is either destroying you or creating you.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
cannot stand when somebody has an idea or a vision that they actually genuinely want and they kill it instantly with, yeah, but somebody's already doing it better, or it's oversaturated or whatever. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh my God, if you only knew how little that matters.
Yep. Yep. It's so true. It's so true. And I before I even started doing this, like I saw the other women doing it, right? And you
Yeah.
have to fill your mind with all of the like, what can this be? What is possible? Like, what are all of the amazing what ifs? What if I can quit my job? What if, like, when I first started, I was like, when I started my boutique, I was like, if I can just pay for our groceries, that would be awesome. Like, that was my first, like, tangible, like, thing. Like, if I could just do this, how awesome would that be? Would that be worth it? Because another thing is like, well, what if I do this for like what if I do all this work for 3 months and it like and I don't see, like results right away? Well, is it worth it? Would it be worth it if it took a little longer? Like
yeah.
if it took 9 months, a year, like 2 years, would it still be worth it? Are the things that you want and the desires that you have like big enough that it's worth it to go through that time, then stay where you are.
Oh my God. I mean, y'all, imagine if Brie quit last year when she was plateaued at $5,000 and somehow like you quit and you went back to a job and then some little magic fairy came and said, Brie, if you had just stuck it out, baby,
Yeah.
in 6 months, you were about to catch on fire. In 6 months flat. In a year, you would be making 10, 20 times what you were making per month. So I love that you said that. You're absolutely like, yeah, okay. What if you don't hit that goal in 3 months? But what if you hit it in 6? What if you hit in 8? What if you hit half of that and you're just happy doing what you're doing versus miserable doing the other thing that is making you a little bit more money currently?
So
Quality
true.
of life. But thank you for answering that, because I know I do this. We're like, I'm a big dreamer. So I love so much how you just explained that, because when I visualize, and I've always done this, I go straight to the like private jet, like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. But it's like, my mind's like, baby girl, wait a sec. We barely just were able to upgrade a 3-hour flight to first class. Like, what are we doing here? You know? So I think that that's actually brilliant, because I used to think, well, if I visualize too small, then that's where I'm going to land. But look at you. Like, you started with, what if I can just pay for my groceries in a couple of months? What if I can book us at the Grand Floridian for our whatever, the anniversary, whatever? Okay, what if I can pay off my car in a couple months? Like, starting with those baby steps, because that feels more real and attainable. And what we're looking for is your mind to get wrapped around the idea that it's possible, and then the feeling and the energy behind that thought. Because if you can feel what it feels like to pay your groceries and to not stress over your groceries, if you can feel what it feels like to book the first class ticket, or to book the fancy hotel, or to hire the VA or the coach, or to buy the program, and your mind's like, no, like, I think we can do this. Now you're able to actually figure out, okay, what actions do I need to take to make this happen?
Yep.
I don't know what actions I need to take right now to become Kim Kardashian.
Right.
You know, I'm figuring it out, but I that's why I wanted to ask, because I just love so much how you explain that. I think we, again, overcomplicate it and try and rush a little fast, like shoot for the freaking moon. Of course, like, have a bigger vision. And also, what's something that actually feels attainable and feels, but also at the same time exciting to you?
Yeah. 100%. Totally. Yeah. Cause I feel like it trains your brain too, to be like, you did that. Like, you did that thing. You can do the next thing now. Like, it gives you that confidence.
Yeah. Amen. Well, this was an incredible conversation. I appreciate you so much for sharing the behind the scenes. And I appreciate you so much for believing in yourself enough to quit the job and to start the first business and to pivot to the second business and not quit when things were hard. I really appreciate that. Because of that, we're able to have this conversation today. We're able to work together. I'm able to be inspired by you, and we're able to continue to serve the people at even a higher level together as a collaboration. And I'm just so grateful for that. So thank you for taking the time and sharing your heart with us today.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that you asked me to be on here, and I've loved working with you, and I'm so excited to do more with other women and help them with their businesses. And
yes,
so good.
So if you want what's going on, if you like the vibe and what Brie's created, that's what we're teaching you how to do. That's the move. So that's our goal. That's the vision of passive social sales. And it's available right now. And when you listen to this in the future, it will be available as well. So go to the link in the show notes. Brie, where can people find you? Is there anything else you want to share of like what you want people to do?
Yeah, you can find me. Instagram is like my place. It's where I hang out. So it's at Brie Groves, BrieGroves. Yes. That's where I am. You could shoot me a DM. Yeah.
Because she be in her DMs. We already know that.
I'm in my DMs.
It's not
I have my VA do other stuff, but I do my DMs.
She does her DMs.
I'm there.
Amazing. Well, I adore you, and we'll have you back another time.
Awesome. Thank you.